about female attraction, about sex, about, all that other, sticky, gooey shit. We're just here to procreate, and, all this thing about love and sexual attraction is just a trap. Human nature has created us to, have the ability to dangle our fucking tail feathers to attract another mate. And that's really all it is. Trap us into continuing this miserable cycle. I'm not gonna, completely, shun sex itself. I feel like, obviously it's a very pleasurable fucking thing to experience. But it's like human beings have evolved to pretty much enjoy sex without, procreation. But it's like we can't really suppress, for some reason, this urge to procreate anyway. Despite, things like abortion, despite things like, shit like contraceptives, shit like that. It's like, it's to a point where there's really no excuse. I mean, you have, the ability to prevent life. It's like we can do this shit. It's just that people choose not to, and it's for their own agenda. The point is not to just demonize sex. That's not the thing. It's just, people are gonna fuck. I'm not saying that just be like, oh, sex is a bad thing, but like, procreation, however, is. Now, some way you can kind of enjoy yourself without procreating, your hand, whatever, you stick your finger up there, whatever the fuck you find pleasurable. It's up to you, but whatever you do, you feel me, just please don't bring another life into this game. I don't care what you are. It's like, it's a non-judgment free zone, but you having the selfish desire to bring life here in the form of a so-called family is the problem. You are only contributing to the perpetual suffering of human beings. That's it. You are contributing to the perpetual suffering of your species when you continue this shit. We need to just deal with the human beings that are already on the fucking planet right now. Instead of creating another batch of human beings, why don't we just, continue dealing with the current generation, or the ones who are already here, instead of bringing more people in here. That's my thing. We should have stopped at us. If your parents had you should stop at you. That's my thing. You are the dead end. You don't need to bring another life here without consent to play a silly little game that they didn't ask to play. You're just being an asshole at that point. Your selfish desire to want something that you can control and manipulate. A golem. You want a golem. You want a robot. You want something that you can tell, hey, roll over and shit. If you want to do that, get a pet. But even a pet is like diabolical, But for the most part, it's like, yeah, it's like there's a growing hatred for parents nowadays because people are starting to see the hypocrisy here. It's like you've grown up in an environment where just your very nature, just by you existing, you're a fucking problem. You're a burden to society. Society is the issue. Because they brought you here to play this game, and when you don't appear to be, if you're not playing the game right in the eyes of the public, in the eyes of the world, it's like you're a fucking freak. You're a monster. You're a freakazoid. That is who you are to these people. And it's like, if you're slightly different, you are a monster. You know? Yeah. So, I mean, that's the world that you've been thrown into. A world where you literally can't win unless you're, like, a monster. So, there you go. And your parents don't give a fuck about you because, they brought you here. I mean, that's just by default, they don't care. So it's like, I'm not saying some people hate their parents, some people don't. I know I personally do. But, I understand, hating my parents won't actually solve the issue. That's the thing. It won't solve the issue. I would need to pick up, pretty much clean the mess that they made. And, clawing at them isn't going to help me do it. But, sometimes it's fun, I have to admit. I mean, you got to shift blame somewhere, right? But after you get a certain age, I understand, it's like you can only blame your parents so much until you're sentient enough to pretty much say, well, it's all up to me now, so it's, if I want to fuck my own life up, I'll do that. I just won't bring a life here to help me. This is like, they don't deserve this. I'm like, what did they do? They did nothing. Should have just stayed a sperm. But I know my children are gonna stay in my testicles. That's just what I know.